management of the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport.
Does the Transportation Committee have a recommendation on that?
Transportation Committee has two recommendations. One is that the overall board includes appointments from the 12 planning districts around the state. That would allow the City of Atlanta and other airports in the 12 county districts to be included in the decision-making process of management, funding, and the public policy. The other one is, if that is a recommendation that is included, then the Atlanta Planning and Advisory Board would have an opportunity to give direct and indirect input on the management, design, and sustainability of the overall legislation.
Al, have you, by any chance, looked at the legality of this bill based on the Federal Aviation Commission edict that this cannot take place?
The courts have upheld statewide accountability for managing municipal airports. The reference point that the court has used is that transportation is now no longer a local phenomenon, but an integrated global system. And therefore, global accountabilities in terms of technology, integrated management systems, and the design of funding strategies. The courts have used those three reference points to indicate that a statewide authority has the most reliable access to technology, the most reliable access to jurisdiction statutes and laws, and is the entity that the Supreme Court looks to in terms of accountability and not local jurisdictions.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Terry Ross at PUT. I am opposed to the legislation that's currently before the state body, and I would like to make a recommendation that this body oppose that action as well.
Terry, at this point, because we do not have a quorum, we are going to remand that to the next meeting or to the executive session, the next executive session, where we can discuss that and then take a vote.
That's great, but you did get that recorded, Melissa? Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you. Jennifer Freeman, is anybody able to speak for education? Okay. Ann Phillips, finance, executive. I am not prepared to follow up on Ms. Kopczynski's report. Okay, that concludes the executive. Upcoming events. I turned it off. Okay, thank you. Upcoming events. April 7th, APAB executive meeting from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Location is to be determined. April 20th, APAB general meeting, standard meeting time and place, which is at 10 a.m. till noon, committee room 1, City Hall. Moving on to NPU announcements. Are there any NPU announcements? Ms. Thomas?
Renella Thomas, NPUK, and also with the Historic Western Heights Bankhead Neighborhood Association. We have an election that's taking place in this city, and it's Council District 3. And early voting has ended, And that was a dismal failure in terms of the number of people who showed up to vote in that election. And there are 9 candidates that are on the ballot. And Tuesday is election day. And one of the things that I've heard from the candidates that are running is that there have been so many political forums that they couldn't get to the people because they were attending forums. And while it's important to have forums to get information from the candidates, I would encourage anyone who is in District 3 to please go to make sure that they vote on Tuesday. And the second thing, I suspect that there will be a runoff with so many candidates participating in this space. And I would be willing to work on a forum with those 2 candidates to get the information from them in a group setting. So if your NPU is in District 3, please call me so that we can talk about how we can get the residents and the voters information regarding the possible runoff. Thank you.
Please present your number if you would like them to call you.
I'd like for them to send it to my email, which would be Weston, WESTIN, Heights, HEIGHTS, bankhead@gmail.com. Thank you.
Okay. Any other committee reports? Okay. Public comments? Or are you on?
This can actually fall under NPU announcements, but I guess we can also do public comments. Good morning, members of APAC. John McKinley, Planning Department. As I was getting ready to speak, I just actually remember this is my first time at the podium, so if I sound nervous, because I am. But in my 2 years. But I just wanted to share with you guys an update regarding the Atlanta Urban Design Commission's annual awards. This is the 42nd year for the Excellence Awards. 42nd year for the Excellence Awards, and third year for the Design Awards, Community Design Awards. And the nomination period for the Community Design Awards actually ended yesterday around 4 p.m. And to use a term that Ms. Thomas used, the submissions were dismal, very, very dismal. It was a lackluster effort. So the director of the Office of Design, Doug Young, what he wanted to do is put a blurb on all NPU meeting agendas starting the last week of this month, and it'll carry over until the 3rd week of April until we catch up. Basically to remind you guys about submitting nominations from the floor. So I actually wanted to share that blurb with you guys this morning.
So you're extending the deadline?
No, so the deadline hasn't been extended, but we are allowing nominations from the floor as we did last year and the year before. So once the NPU submits a nomination in February, March, the nominations go back to the NPU for a vote. So while some NPUs will be voting on their original nominations, some NPUs will actually just nominate from the floor in end of March, early April. Does that make sense? So we're not really extending the nomination period. It has ended. But however, every year they also allow nominations from the floor. Or extend the nomination period. Yeah. Just went all the way around. Well, let me share this blurb with you. The Community Design Awards are a way for the NPU to recognize the buildings, public spaces, events, art, organizations, etc. that make a community a better place to live. Examples of previous Community Design Award winners include neighborhood events, community organizations, new buildings, public art programs, individuals, organizations who have made a significant contribution to a neighborhood, public agencies working in that part of the city, etc. Based on the nomination's location, each nomination was assigned an NPU for voting purposes. There can only be one Community Design Award winner from each NPU, regardless of the number of nominations. The NPU may also decide that none of the nominations warrant a Community Design Award. So again, just a friendly reminder that nominations can be made from the floor. This will be on all NPU meeting agendas starting the last week of this month and carrying over until the third week of April. And that's pretty much it regarding the Community Design Awards. And one other announcement, Erica, Debbie wanted me to share, and I confirm that this is okay to share. Erica Pines, Assistant Director for the Neighborhood Coordination Division, her last day with the City of Atlanta will be March 29th. So just wanted to give you all a heads up. She will be transitioning to MARTA, so we wish her much success in that role. Thank you.
What's your job title? What's your job title?
She'll be working in external affairs.
Can you list the NPUs that have nominated?
I believe just NPUX.
I don't know if it's a question or comment, but the process for those nominations has always been sort of mystifying to me, in that we in NPUD made a nomination and then it was sent back to us to make it again. And I got the impression that we weren't supposed to make the nomination initially, but we're supposed to sort of let our members make whatever nominations they wanted and sort of wait and see what showed up, which was essentially what we did.
But we only got one nomination.
Right, and so I guess what I'm saying is that the process itself seems flawed, and that if if we were to take it up as we now will from the floor, that seems like the way we should have handled it from the beginning, rather than waiting for people who are nominally unaware of all this to submit something to somebody else who would then send it back to us, which makes no sense to me.
That's a good point. This is an initiative out of the Office of Design, so I'll speak with Doug Young, the Assistant Director, and make that recommendation. But I think they're taking into account that some MPs may have multiple nominations. In years past, MPs had multiple nominations, so they wanted an opportunity for the body to make an official vote if there were multiple nominations.
Oh yeah, I mean I understand that, but I think the thing I didn't understand was that if we're going to have to resolve it anyway, why do we need to make the nominations to the Office of Design so that they can then send them back to us to vote on, instead of doing that all internally and sending them a nomination?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that'll eliminate a lot of legwork too, so than having to print out ballots and give you guys. Yes, sir.
Who is authorized to make the nomination from the floor in this system?
So for the Community Design Awards, these are nominations from the NPU as a whole, so any resident that is involved in the NPU system. In fact, any resident, period.
So anybody
from the floor. But the NPU does need to vote on the nomination.
Would that depend on the rules of the specific NPU? I mean, I know different NPUs do business in different ways.
So the Community Design Awards are a nomination from the NPU. So instead of having just any resident walk in and make a nomination without getting input and support from the NPU, would defeat the purpose. It's from the NPU as a whole.
Right, I understand that, but I mean, some NPUs, not mine, but some NPUs do business through their executive committee, where the only voting members are members of their executive committee.
As long as it's voted on by the NPU. So in that case, the executive committee would make the recommendation versus
So, but going back to Richard's question, then, in fact, if you were in such an NPU, you would need to be a member of the executive committee.
No, this question was who can submit a nomination. The executive committee would just vote on it, but he can submit the nomination still.
Okay.
Right?
Do you meetings on the floor or to, I mean, your division of the city government design, would anybody can make a from the floor nomination? Is that what you're saying? At
So,
the time of the presentation.
So you're talking about going forward or during the nomination period? During the nomination period, anyone from the NPU can make a
You
recommendation.
said make a nomination from the floor. What, the floor of what meeting are you talking about?
NPU.
Oh, okay. Not your actual presentation of the award.
Richard,
No.
only half of this discussion is getting picked up on the microphone, and it's John's half, so.
You can repeat it if it's anything with that.
All right, thank you guys.
Okay, any other public comments?
Wilson for the Center for Civic Innovation again. Just to echo Ms. Thomas's comments, also outside, the Center for Civic Innovation has produced these fact sheets for City Council that has information about the election, all the dates that were described earlier, as well as some basic information about the city and the role of City Council. So please take one of these. If you know anybody in District 3, please pass this information along. It does have the date on there, but hopefully it's not providing specific information about the candidates, although if you do go to our website, which is voteatl.org, we submitted questionnaires to all 9 candidates. We got 6 responses, so there's 6 questionnaire responses are online. So if folks are interested in learning more about the candidates and not attending yet another forum, we've got that information available for them. Please take advantage of it. Thanks.
Okay, any further comments? At this time, I'm going to take a quorum call. Oops, one more. We have one more public comment.
I'm sorry. District 3 has a serious problem.
Please state your name.
Lena Reed Morrow. District 3 has a serious problem because all of the libraries are closed for voting. Those people had to come downtown. Many of them are senior citizens, so coming downtown to vote has been a problem for them. So can we do anything to help them for early voting the next election they have? Because in the runoff, they are going to need somewhere else to go other than coming downtown. Hello?
We don't do that.
That is not within our preview. That would be with
You
the
can't send a
elections.
letter to somebody?
We can register the complaint,
Mm-hmm.
if you will, if you send an email to APAB requesting such action, we can possibly follow up on it in executive committee and then do a resolution from that point.
No.
Okay. Ms. Thomas?
Cornell Thomas, may I respond briefly regarding the concern for the early voting? Our municipal clerk had initially indicated that there would not be early voting, and that decision was changed. And in the runoff, I don't know that anybody has announced that there would be early voting or not. Based on the number of votes, is it necessary to do, and I'm raising a question, is it necessary to do early voting for this particular one district in this particular election of the councilman?
Who is the question being addressed to?
Rhetorical.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Eric, I just wanted to make it clear, so the city actually did not change their standpoint on early voting. The county is doing early voting.
Okay, that was an important statement. Could you repeat that again, please?
So again, the clerk's office stood by their initial decision to not do the early voting. So instead, Fulton County took up that responsibility. That's why the seniors are having that issue with heading over to Fulton County.
Okay, thank you. Steve or Mr. Carr?
No, just plain old Steve. I want to address approximately 10 key affordable housing bills. This is the printed piece of paper that I hope you all got. And there's a lot of other bills that are going through the current General Assembly. And it's kind of at the last moment. However, I would encourage everyone to address the website, which that's a foreign language to me, called legis, Legis, .ga.gov. And there's an alternative, and that is to call the Lieutenant Governor's office, and you go through a process called Georgia General Assembly, and then click on either the House or the Senate, click on the committees, and then you can get to the chairs and members of the committees and their contact information. There are several important items, and one particular one that I am very interested in, and that's HR, as in House Resolution, HR 164, dedication of revenue by general law, that's 164. The money that's supposed to go to high school driver's education is being diverted, stolen into the general fund. That's why we don't have driver's ed in the state. The money that is paid when we get new tires, the money that's supposed to go to the reclaim of the discarded tires, is not going in that direction. It's going into the general fund, which means it's being hijacked by the General Assembly. These are two examples of monies that's supposed to be dedicated that's going elsewhere. So that's House Bill 164. Last year it was almost unanimous vote by the House, except for one vote, to pass this. But our former governor, Casey Cagle, and his friendly Senate committee chair sat on it. So the money is still going into the General Assembly. There's a little bit more details on this, but I would strongly encourage anybody and everybody to find out more about this 164. There's two specific areas where you can find out more. One is that website called Legis, legis.ga.gov, and or call the Lieutenant Governor's office, because the Lieutenant Governor is the one that assigns the bills to the, I would say appropriate committees, but let's just say the committee of choice. So once we get that 164 taken care of, then we're going to find that tires disappear. Instead of being an eyesore and a blight, and as breeding grounds for all of these flying hypodermics called mosquitoes that produce Zika, encephalitis, malaria, yellow fever, and we keep on going. There's also a number of housing and affordable housing legislative actions taking place too. And there is another source, and bear with me, John, I'm not as fluent as you are, and it's called House ATL, HOUSEATL.org. And they can provide more information specific to legislation that of concern about housing. So just remember 164, and hopefully anybody and everybody will call their legislator and any other legislator and say, make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carr. Any other public comment? Okay, at this point, I know it might seem a little bit ridiculous, but I'd like to do a quick quorum call to ensure that we do not have a quorum.
If your name is called, please say here. Buckley, NQA, Brinkley Dickerson, NQB, Richard Braw.
Here.
Dr. John Muzzy. NQC, Zach Gober. NQD, James Martin.
Here.
Myself. NQE, Elizabeth Ward. Sean Green. NQF, Debbie Skupczynski. NQG, Ola Reynolds. Sonia Hodges.
Here.
NQH, Barbara Hubbard.
Here.
Charles Shelton. NQI, Eunice Glover. Jennifer Freeman. NQJ, Benjamin Dickerson. Al Bartel.
Here.
NQK, Lita Harmon. NQL, Yvonne Jones. NQM, Michelle Schreiner. Rashid Muhammad. NQN, Amy Stout. Here.
All right.
NQ, sorry?
I said, all right.
Yes. NQO, Carl Holt. Marcus Owens. NQP, Rasheen Hunter.
Present.
NQQ, Eric Toomer.
Present.
David Getchie Smith. NQR, Antonita Robinson. Alfred White. NQS, Chris Brown. Nate Hess.
Excuse me, I'm actually here for Chris Moreno. I'm Daniel Burrows, Vice Chair of the APUS. This is my first APAC meeting, so I don't know if I'm supposed to sign in or anything.
There is a sign-in up there. Most of these are listed as formally registered as APAB delegates or alternates, which is a process that has to be emailed over to the planning office.
Okay.
So we're really excited you're here, but you will not count towards quorum today.
Okay.
Before we go,
Basically, I'd like to repeat the process for being an alternate. An email needs to be sent from the chairman of the MPU to the planning office and copy to the president, Debbie Koczynski. And that way we will properly have you registered as an alternate if you are to be. Other than that, we cannot accept by word of mouth that you're supposed to represent the organization.
So that was MPUS, was where I went to. MPUT, Terry Ross. Donovan Dodds. MPUV, Columbus Ward Jr.
Here.
Stephanie Flowers. MPUW, Jack Brunler. Steve Carr.
we're still here.
MPUX, Michael Hopkins. Reuben Burney. MPUY, Chris McCord. MPUZ, Ann Phillips. Sharita Grant. Here. Mr. Vice President, we do not have a quorum.
Okay, with that in mind, we do not have a quorum. We can not conduct any formal business. And at this point, I will accept a nomination, a request from the floor for
Motion adjourned.
such a request is made. Okay, motion has been made. All in favor of the amendment? We did get a second, I'm sorry. We did get a second, Mr. All in favor? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We are adjourned.